Good evening guys, and welcome to Vlogmas Day 5. Right, so it is Vlogmas Day 5 and it is like the evening time. So today I'm going to do something a little bit different for Vlogmas. I'm actually on my balcony. The reason I'm nice and glowing is because there's a beautiful sunset, which I shall show you in a minute. How nice is that sunset? Anyway, yeah, I thought today, I'll be honest, today I had a busy day at school, and then me and Callum were filming something that we're going to be putting up on Creative Travel Guide in the new year. So to be honest, I didn't really film much of my day, and it was very much kind of focusing on Creative Travel Guide YouTube channel. If you have checked us out on Creative Travel Guide, our YouTube channel, we haven't actually put up much content in a while. I'll be honest, when we were in China, I touched on it on my first day of Vlogmas, but when we were in China, we just really struggled with kind of getting motivated and getting on with vlogging in general, to be honest. I think we didn't, in our second year in China, we didn't have VPN. Like, the VPN just kept going off and we just kept getting frustrated and annoyed with everything. So yeah, so we haven't uploaded in a while, but we have a load of China content that is ready to upload and to go, and we've also obviously got lots of travel videos about Bangkok, and then soon we will have some videos about Vietnam and Cambodia as well. So we are going to be relaunching that in January, which is why we were out today filming. So on that note, Vlogmas Day 5, what I thought I would do instead of doing a normal Vlogmas day is I thought I would answer some of your frequently asked questions about living in China. Now, I'm not living in China now, so I'm living in Bangkok. If you have any questions about living in Bangkok, let me know them in the comments below, or head over to my Instagram channel, That Katie Life, to ask questions on there, and I will do another one of these videos if you have lots of questions. But one of the things that I have had, probably mainly from our Creative Travel Guide Facebook page and Instagram, are lots and lots of questions about living in China, because I think it's a little bit more unusual. There's a lot less people doing it, and it's a little bit more unknown, you know. So yeah, and to be honest, yeah, I haven't really felt that comfortable answering questions about living in China until now. I make it sound like I had an awful time in China. I really didn't. Hang on one second, I'm going to turn the lighting on my balcony because it's getting really dark really quickly. That's better. I put on the light, and then I also remembered that I had a massive air conditioning unit I could balance you on, so that's much easier. So as I was saying, I had a lot of questions about living in China, and I don't know, I think for me, I had an amazing time in China. When I think about traveling in China and some of the experiences I had in China, my best friend Jessie, I absolutely love her to pieces. She was my TA at my school in China. We still keep in touch now. She's coming to visit next year, and she was amazing. She was my shining light of living in China. But there was a lot of things in China that I just didn't feel happy with, I didn't feel right with. And it's nothing really to do with politics. A lot of people think maybe it's that. There is stuff that I don't agree with the politics, but I'm not going to get into the politics in China because it's not my business. But there's lots of things about daily life that I struggled with. So now that we've kind of moved and enjoyed living in Bangkok and stuff like that, I thought it would be a good time to share my answers about a lot of your questions. The noise. We live on Sukhumvit Road, and it's always really noisy, so if you've got a question about traffic in Bangkok, you can hear it. Anyway, let's find these questions. Okay, question 1. Michelle from Cheeky Passport said, did you learn Mandarin, and is it hard to learn? No, I did not learn Mandarin at all. When we were in China, I learned very minimal Mandarin, so obviously ni hao, xie xie, zhao shang hao, very small things, just hello, thank you, good morning, is this spicy, those types of things. We learned kind of the basics that we needed, and actually Callum had an app that he used to learn a bit more, which came in helpful. When we were traveling, he was able to kind of say rice, chicken, stuff like that. I can't remember what the app was called. If I think of the name of it, I will leave it in the link in the description below. But it was quite a nice, fun app. In fact, have I got it here? No, I don't have it here. But it was quite a fun app that would help you learn the language, and then you would also see how it was written in calligraphy as well. And yeah, so he learned a bit more, but we where we lived, not many people spoke English, but if you were in a restaurant, there was a lot of like pictures, and if you go to like Beijing, Shanghai, Hong Kong, any of the major cities, you'll be able to like point to pictures and get along with it without knowing Mandarin fine. Okay, next question. So Nia asked, how do you manage time between vlogging, blogging and your daily work? What is the secret to your success? So to be honest, our creative travel guide blog is doing really well and we pushed it a lot. YouTube is kind of taking a big back step, so it was always kind of like we uploaded as and when we wanted to. I know that completely like goes against all of YouTube's ideas of like consistently uploading, but yeah, to be honest, I'm a full-time teacher. I have been a full-time teacher in England, and when we moved I was still a full-time teacher at an international school, both in China and in Bangkok. So generally how that works is I work all day, Callum does the blogging work all day, and when I come home I'm writing in the evenings. On the weekend we generally tend to spend like one day blogging and one day exploring and doing chores and daily life and stuff like that. Okay, so people at Slow Travel Guide asked, what is the hardest part about life in China? For me, I would say that like there are lots of little things in China that are hard that kind of add up to just frustration. So ExpressVPN, we use ExpressVPN, but we had to use ExpressVPN to keep in contact with our family. Often that would go down, and I hated the feeling that like I couldn't contact my parents. We couldn't contact Callum's parents, and we couldn't we couldn't contact the outside world at times because the internet would go down. So that was like one of the things that frustrated us a lot. Also, I know I've mentioned before, pollution was bad at certain times of the year. But yeah, and the language barrier, I guess. Like, I was fortunate to work in an international school, so I met a lot of local people that could speak English. But when you go out, that language barrier can always be difficult. But that's the same everywhere you are living in the world, unless you live in your home country. So I guess like those kind of little frustrations add up to one just big general annoyance. Okay, so AJ asked, where in China are you based out of, and how easy is it to commute around considering the language barrier? So we were living in a place called Tianjin, which was just outside of Beijing. It's about 30 minutes away, and actually transporting around China was not as hard as I thought it would be. So when we traveled in China in 2013, we like booked everything in advance and had to really research it. But living in China is actually a lot easier because you have access to things like Alipay, WeChat Pay, Ctrip. There's an app called Ctrip that you can book your train tickets on, your hotels, your flights. Like, you can book everything on it. It is in English as well, so you can use that translation. And generally speaking, we never had like any major problems. We used an app called Didi instead of getting the taxi. So that was like probably our biggest challenge, was if you get into a normal taxi, most of the time they couldn't speak English. Where we were living in Tianjin, they couldn't speak English, so we used Didi, which is like the Chinese version of Uber, and that like made our lives a lot easier, and it was a lot easier to get around the city. Metros, like every major city in China has a metro. Again, you can download the app. Everything in China is done on an app, and you can translate most of those apps. So getting around China wasn't actually as hard as I thought it would be. Okay, so leading on from that question, Margarita asked, which is the best way to travel around China? I would say it depends on like where you're going, but for me, I think I really enjoyed the speed trains. You can get like from Tianjin, you get a speed train down to Shanghai, and it takes like 5 hours. But if you go for a first class seat, they're pretty comfortable, they're very, very fast. You do have to get to the train station like at half an hour to an hour before your journey, just to make sure you have plenty of time of getting on. But it's much comfier than like going to an airport. We kind of found in China, all the airports are the same, but generally speaking, they could just be a little bit overwhelming, and we always would prefer to like get a train or drive over a flight. But because China is so big, we often had to catch flights. So flying is easy to do. You just have to make sure you book your flight obviously in advance, but also just make sure you get to the airport in plenty of time, depending on where you're going from. Like, sometimes we lived in a place called Tianjin, and the airport was always really quiet and we could get to it really easy. But sometimes, like if you were flying out of Shanghai, if you were flying out of, like we went from Guilin once to go back home, and it was packed, so you have to wait in security for ages. It really just depends on where you're flying to and from. I would say the best way though, if you can, to get around by the train, because it's pretty cheap, it's pretty easy, and there's a lot less stress involved than anything else. Okay, so a question someone asked was, is China a good option for women or solo travellers? Or women solo travellers. So I would say China is a great place for solo travelling, especially for women, because I just think it is such an incredibly safe place. Like, there were times when we would see people leave their laptops on a coffee table when they were in, if they were in Starbucks, they would leave their laptop, their phone, their wallet, everything on a table and pop to the toilet or pop out or whatever. And it is an incredibly safe place. We were able to leave our cameras on the other side of a road whilst walking towards it, and it was fine. It's a really incredibly safe place to live and to travel. Generally, we never really experienced any scams or anything like that. It's a very, very safe place to travel. If you're traveling by yourself, there are lots of hostels in the major cities as well, so that's really convenient. And obviously, because you have such an extensive train network, you are able to just catch trains really easily around. You don't have to rely on sharing taxis and cars with people as well. But yeah, I would say it's a really safe place to travel if you're a woman, and if you're a solo traveller. And actually, in fact, on top of that, so we went to Disneyland Shanghai. So when I was working at school, our trip every year was to take the kids down to Disneyland. And one of my students, we were walking along and he was like, "Oh, where's my water bottle?" And I was like, "In your bag." And he was like, "Where's my bag?" And we were just like, "What on earth?" And we retraced our steps, and he had left his bag on a bench that we'd been on 10-15 minutes ago, and it was still there, not touched, unopened. And it was a really busy day in the park, and I was just like, I'm from England, and I don't know if they would still be there if it was left in England. But yeah, so it is a really safe place to go. And I would also say it's a good place for families and travellers that want a safe place to visit. China is the one, because it is a safe place, to be fair. Purvi asked, have you visited any of the Chinese European villages? Which one was the best one? So this is really funny, because before we came to China, we had heard about this and we were like, what? Yeah, no, we have seen quite a few of the replicas of European villages. So in China, there is a lot of European villages that they've made to get rid of some of the crowds in the major cities. So actually, in where we lived in Tianjin, there was an Italian quarter that had lots of Italian. It had been transformed into an Italian quarter attraction, but it was originally meant for it's just being an Italian styled town. But yeah, nowadays there's restaurants and stuff there. When we were in Shanghai, we went over to the Thames town, which is a little town village that was made up to look like England, which was really cute. But my favourite one has to be, we went to a place just outside of Hangzhou, and actually check out Creative Travel Guide in January, because those videos are coming soon. But we visited a fake Paris, and it was so funny. It had a proper Eiffel Tower, but it was abandoned. We really liked Thames Town, and actually that video from our visit to Thames Town is on Creative Travel Guide now, so I'll leave it in the link in the description below. But the Hangzhou's Paris was amazing, because you had this replica of the Eiffel Tower, but the whole place was deserted. There was a few little cafes, a few residents kind of bopping about, but there really wasn't much there or anyone there at all. So it was really surreal, and yeah, I would recommend going, but it was a really weird experience. But yeah, I would definitely, if you're in China for a while and you're interested in that type of stuff, check out the fake European villages, because they are unique. So Alexan asked, what were your preparations before moving to China? So I was offered a job to live in China in February of 2017, and then we had a few months then to kind of get all our visas sorted. So that included verification, so I had to send off all my degree certificates and stuff to be verified by the government of England, and then we had to go for an interview process it wasn't actually at the Chinese embassy, it was a Chinese visa centre in London, and then we had to go to the Chinese embassy to get our fingerprints done, and yes, that was kind of the main stuff to get the visa. And then we also obviously sent off shipping, we sent off bags, we had all our shipping that we sent off to China. But yeah, that's probably pretty much it. We tried to learn a bit of Chinese, but not massively. But yeah, it was kind of we were also getting married at the time, so it was quite a busy time leading up to moving abroad. So Walking the Imaginary Line asked, what is the food like? So yeah, the food in China is a lot different to Chinese food around the world. So in Tianjin, the food was really varied. I think a lot of people, because it was a port town, a lot of people from other places in China had migrated there. So there was lots of different types of food there. And for me, I loved, in a place called Xi'an, there is a Muslim area. They have a lot of, it's like a Muslim quarter, and they have a lot of really amazing food like lamb kebabs and lamb pulled noodles, and those types of dishes are amazing, and they were also in Tianjin, which I loved. But yeah, it's interesting because there was some food in China that I absolutely loved. You can get like Peking duck, for example. The pulled noodles were always amazing. You can get some really good tasting foods. Like Callum loved having like pork and rice, like char siu pork, that type of stuff. So there were lots of really good food there, but then there was also food that you'd have and you'd be like, that's different. Like sweet and sour isn't really a thing. And in fact, I went to a sweet and sour restaurant, well, I went to a Cantonese restaurant with my TA Jessie, and we tried some sweet and sour food, and she was like, I've never had this in my life before. So it was like incredibly sour, not too sweet. So yes, I really enjoyed the food. It can be like quite difficult to get healthy food there. A lot of stuff is like cooked in a lot of oil, so it is kind of trying to like, we had to find the balance of eating Chinese food but then also just making food ourselves. Otherwise, like when we first moved there, we were constantly like, let's try all the Chinese food, and we put on a load of weight and were quite unhealthy for a little bit. So it's kind of like trying to find that balance of trying the local food but also trying to make your own food and stay healthy as well at the same time. Okay, so I have got quite a few questions here, but I'm just going to finish off with this one. Maybe I'll do like a part 2 to this another time. But what are the most impressive sites you have visited so far? So we had seen quite a bit of China. We had visited China before we moved there. I would say from all of our experience in China, my favourite experiences, my favourite things to see, first of all, Pingyang Village, incredible. If you are traveling China, head to Guilin, and about an hour or two away from Guilin is the Longji rice terraces. You can go as a day trip, but I urge you to please try and stay the night. Go up, there's a place called Pingyang Village, and you can hike. You have to hike up to it. It takes about 45 minutes to hike from the parking lot to the village. So don't take luggage and stuff, but we just took like a little backpack, and we had 2 nights there, and it was absolutely incredible. I'll find the name of the hotel that we stayed in. It was like a little like B&B type hotel. I'll find the name of that and leave it in the description below. But it was an absolutely incredible experience. That video will come up soon in the new year. But honestly, most amazing thing we've ever done in China is that, hands down. Other impressive sites, I would definitely say like the Yangtze River. So we went on it in 2013 and we started it in Chongqing and got off at Yishang, but you can keep going all the way to Shanghai. It's an incredible experience. I really would recommend it if you're visiting China. Other things, obviously, like Beijing, Shanghai are full of amazing places to visit and see. We absolutely loved Harbin. Harbin is in like the very northern point of China. If you go in the winter, you can go to the ice festival, and that is just breathtaking, absolutely amazing experience. I have got a video of that on this channel, so I will leave that in the link in the description below. But yeah, Harbin, Pingyang Village, Yangtze River, Chengdu. If you go to Chengdu to see the pandas, make sure you also head about 2.5 hours away to a place called Lishan, and there is like a Leshan Buddha there. There's like this Buddha that's carved into the mountains. Absolutely amazing. Like, I will say there are so many things in China that aren't as known that are just as incredible. Like they're just beautiful. Yangshuo and Guilin are like an area where there's lots of karsts, like limestone karsts. They're really nice. I found Yangshuo a little bit too touristy, but it's a good place to go and explore the countryside. But yeah, I think try and go off the beaten track a bit. So go into the of course, like go to the big cities. Beijing is full of amazing things to do, but try and go and explore outside the big cities as well. But yeah, those are my favorite things to do in China. So I hope you like this video. If you've got more questions about China, leave them in the comments below. I have got some more questions. China wasn't this loud, I will say. So if you have questions about China, leave them in the comments below. I've got some more questions from other people as well, so maybe I'll do a part 2 of this at some point. But yeah, so let me know if you have got any questions, or head over to my Instagram and ask me questions on there. Equally, I will put up a photo of Bangkok soon, tonight, so before I forget. And if you have any questions about living in Bangkok, let me know. I'm more than happy to answer questions about that as well. But yeah, I hope you like this video. What I will do is I will leave a load of links in the description below of all of the things I've mentioned today, but also some of the blog posts that we wrote about our time in China. We have a massive collaboration post about places to visit in China, so if you're planning a trip, make sure you check that link out, because there's lots and lots of information of like places to visit, but also like costs to expect there, where to stay, things to do there, etc, etc, etc. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. I'm sorry it's a slightly different type of Vlogmas than you were expecting, but I hope you liked it. If you did, make sure you give me a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and I shall see you tomorrow for another day of Vlogmas. Have a wonderful day. Bye.